Good evening and welcome to today's webinar. Today we have got a very eminent person to take today's webinar. Let me give a small introduction from my end about him. He is Mr. Deenadayalan, and he's not just, I should be calling him as Mr. Deenadayalan because he is a Lieutenant Commander. And before I hand it over to him, I would like to, like I said, I would like to give a small introduction from my end about him. So, Lieutenant Commander Deenadayalan has a profound experience in project management in military, banking, and technology. Being an alumnus of a premier Indian institution, he has coached people to excel in the field of project management globally. So, welcome, Mr. Deenadayalan. Now, the floor is all yours. You can go ahead. I'll be making you as the host now.
Thank you, Renu. Thank you for that kind introduction. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Basically, greetings for the day. Nice to see so many of y'all around. So I'll be just sharing my screen now. Hope my screen is visible to all. So today, let us start our session quickly so that we can have more time towards the end for our question and answer session. So again, as Renu was mentioning, I just request everyone to be on mute. If you're having any questions or doubts or queries, you can just note it down in a piece of paper. And towards the end, based on our time availability, I'll try to take maximum questions around the seminar. Primarily today's webinar is around the evolution of project management, basically how project management has evolved over a period of time. So generally, coming to project management, each one of you all already know what is a project, what is operations, which need not be again reiterated. Rather than that, we can cover certain things which is contemporary in today's world. And while covering, I'll bring out certain examples also, wherein I have got the opportunity to work on hand during my military period, and also for working in the largest US bank and in their technology as well as in the business front. So again, welcome once again to the seminar. We'll just start, and I'm going to my next slide. So basically today's agenda. So I'll be covering around, initially I'll give certain introduction, and then we'll see around project management, various methodologies. And coming back to the methodologies, we'll be briefly covering the waterfall as well as the agile methodology. And what is agile all about? The mindset that we'll cover. And we'll see certain frameworks and tools, which I am sure most of you all are aware, at least in the present world and the present technology era, the globalized era, and the availability of internet in everyone's hands. So these words must be familiar with most of you all, but we'll just have a quick run through that. And then we'll see overall the transformation in itself, like what is waterfall and why we are coming into agile. And then we'll see the market and the industry presently, and then we can conclude and then go around with the question and answers. So if you can see my first slide, you can just have a look how the project management or the projects has evolved over a period of time. Right from we are covering 4,500 years ago when the pyramids were built in the Egypt. From there onwards, with the present era where AI is almost taking over everything. And today I go to read an article where there was like in screen, a person in the screen is trying to do some action. And on the other end, the movements are being captured through AI, and the objects are being moved with the help of that. So we have advanced to that level of things, especially due to the growth of AI today. And while there is a lot of a debate whether AI should be like controlled or whether it should be explored to the extent possible, but it is all debatable topics. But at the end of the day, everything is manageable and being managed. And here I have two photographs, a small instances which everyone it happens in everyone's life, but we never take it so seriously. But if you actually consider this, asleep, when you equate this to a project, okay, so I might be sounding a little bit odd, but you have to take it, because later on the session you will feel it how relatable it is. So everyone goes to sleep and we wake up in the morning, right? But have we ever considered that as a project? Never, right? But actually, if you see, it has to be termed in that way. Why? Because we have to plan for our sleep. We might go to a sleep sitting in classrooms, in fact sitting in these webinars. Those are different. I mean to say, in a bed, in at the end of the day when you go to sleep, we have to plan for that. So everywhere where there is a plan, and when that activity has a start, and when the activity has a stop, and when there is an outcome of that activity, we just term it as project, right? So here we are planning for it, we are going to sleep, that is the start time, and we are waking up, that's the end time. And the process, during the process, the outcome is a good rest. So nowadays also we have so many health tips which are coming. So what time to sleep, what time to eat. So if you see everything in our life, the each small things, whatever we are doing, everything is revolving around project. Okay. So, and you see the second photograph, I've got a pet and a family bringing a pet, and there are many adoptions also. People also buy pets, grow pets, we consider the pets as their family members. But even in this case, a, a project, like especially at least for a human being, since dogs, their lifespan is much lesser. So we can see a dog right from being a pup to being an adult and dying as a project, because it might be a 13-year project or a 12-year project, but that itself is a project, right? So when you see project in that this way, then you can understand how important project management is. It is simple. When you're disciplined, when you're inculcating those habits of project management in your life, so everything, a small thing in your life becomes projects. And when you apply these in your workplaces, you will be able to see tremendous amount of results. So now a small, me in project management, that is primarily how I have involved with project management. So as Renu gave a small introduction about myself, I'm a retired lieutenant commander with the Indian Navy. I've done my BTech in computer science, and then I'm an IMA grad MBA from a premier institution in India. So I, as a project management, when I took this over. So in Navy, when I joined, I was initially a weapons officer. So I was as underwater weapons officer, the sensors as well as weapons. I used to look after this. So I got commissioned as a sub lieutenant, and this is what I have taken over. So when I took over things, it was more of a routine job to me. It was never, I would say, I never equated that with project. But later on, slowly, when things happened to me, I would see how I was involved myself into the project as a whole. So I have completed many installation projects. Now I'm using the term projects. Earlier, I would say I'm just installing an equipment on my ship. I'm just concluding a contract with a third party vendor for my website. So this is the terminology used. But now if you see that I have completed a weapons project, I have completed a contract management project, I have completed, I would say, multiple defense military projects when I was in the Navy, and subsequently when as I'm with the JP Morgan Chase. So initially, I was looking after an transformation technology project, and later on, now I'm into a business transformation program for international private banking. So generally, we also know what is project, right? As I mentioned, project needs to have a start and an end, and it needs to have an outcome. So generally, projects are temporary processes. And we also know what is management. Management is nothing but managing things in the best way possible, whether it is your resources, whether it's your supply chain, whether it's your sales, whether it's your target, achieving the target, whether it's earning. So coming to this point of the importance of project management over the other management, I won't say that project management is the only thing which is important and other managements are not really important. I would never say that. But I have mentioned some of the managements here. You can see operations management, sales management, strategic management, and multiple managements. And if you see, most of them are covered if you have done your BBA, that is business bachelor's in business administration, or an MBA program or an MBA course. You would see most of these words are there as the lessons itself. For example, human resource management or marketing management, strategic management, these are the headings of the lessons in itself. Why? Because but one thing, if you have not noticed, that project management as a lesson is not there. But have you wondered why? I would personally say that because it is not there, because project management is involved in everything. For example, you say financial and account management. So in financial and account man, there might be a lot of commerce students who are working heavily on their financial planning, financial analysis, and so on. However, but when they take it as a project, at the end of the day, they need resources, they need budget for that, they need the time for that, they need a schedule, milestone mapping for that, and at the end of the day, they have to start it and complete it. Whether it's an I would at least when the introduction part, it needs to be projects. Whether it's a supply chain, when companies like Flipkart in India or Amazon, when it started, it's a supply chain only. So when today, if you see, Amazon also is doing only the supply chain management, which is also projects. They are also taking projects and completing it. So coming to operations is also nothing but smaller projects being completed within a speculated time, and that being extended into the operations in itself. If you say, for example, of sales, they have a target, and to achieve this target, they have a plan. So when they have a plan and when they have a target, and at the end of the day, it becomes a project. Like, for example, sales, extending sales, for example, Amazon, or for example, Apple in Tanzania, that might be a project for them, because Apple is already established in most of the places. So a new product is coming, so the new product is a project for if you go into any of the companies, for them every product is actually a product. Today we are revolving around the importance is given to the teams and to the products, but at the end of the day, the product is nothing but a project for them. They complete the project and the product is coming out. So that is the importance of project management here. So I have a timeline out here when it actually started. Most of the things are available on the internet. So you know what is a Gantt chart. You have the timelines and the project timelines and the project milestones. You know what is critical path method. And you all might have heard about this institute called as Project Management Institute, the Scrum framework, the Scrum Alliance, the Prince, which is again another organization like the PMI in the US and the North American countries. We have this Prince in the EMEA region, that is the European markets and European region. So, and we have this total cost management, which was coming in 2006. So these is just a timeline which I'm giving so that you can be familiar around this. Now coming into all about project. So in project, as I told you, it has a start and an end. I'll be repeating this. It has a start and an end, and it needs to have an outcome. And it's a temporary process. We all know that. So we need to know about this golden triangle of project management. What is golden triangle about the project management in itself is nothing but, in project, we have a scope, what needs to be done in the project. We have a cost associated to that is called the budget, and the schedule by when it has to be completed. So managing these three with a quality outcome, that is what this golden triangle is all about. You have to ensure that the cost is maintained. So initial allocated budget, you neither jump much, you neither jump much below that, and at the same time schedule, there will be slips. Again, this is only the ideal condition, right? Like the ideal condition is that if you say it's $10 million, the project is completed within $10 million and it has to be completed in 5 years, it will be completed, but it generally never happens. There is always scope creeps, which comes in, and then budget is extended. We have to allocate some extra budget. And when you get in, when you get actually into project management, you'll know the process. Like there will be business cases and there'll be additional approvals required from the business sponsors. So these kind of things will be done, and we need to keep doing this budget forecasting throughout our project whenever our project is running, right? And we have something called as the project management principles itself, right? There is something called as principles, and we need to know something about the process groups and the knowledge areas. Again, coming back to this process groups and knowledge areas, this is as per the definition of PMBOK, that is the PMI standards, PMBOK 6 guidelines, right? The process groups and knowledge areas. So in process groups, what we have, a project is initiated initially, right? It is initiated. Then some planning has to be done. After that planning is done, we are executing it. Once the execution is done, the post execution, the monitoring and controlling. of the project has to be done. And then at the end of the project, we need to close it properly. So this is a cycle, right? But this now again, there is small changes into this where monitoring and controlling comes across initiation till the closing. Actually, it is running even during initiation, some kind of a monitoring is required. And coming into knowledge areas. So what is knowledge areas is nothing but the integration management. This is again the management which runs throughout this process groups. And we have various artifacts and tools mapped with this knowledge areas and the process groups. Like, for example, we have the integration management, managing the scope. Like, as I mentioned, there will be a lot of scope creeps which need to be managed. And there is a lot of the schedule has to be managed. Timelines have to be managed. Budgeting, cost, and the quality, how we manage the quality. There are various methods for these. I'm not getting in deep into each one of them. I'm just giving a very, I would say, a top level view of what it is all about. And then we have got the resources management, the communication plans and the communication management. How are we going to manage the risk here? And then what do we do with the procurement? How do we go about the vendors? And then managing your stakeholders. These are some of the knowledge areas actually we have. And generally coming to the project management principles, as I've told, so initially we need to understand what our deliverables are about. And then the objective of the project has to be established lately. So before that, what we need to do, we have to evaluate the risks and define the budget and the milestones so that we can achieve and set up our deliverables and then complete the project objectives in a time. Okay. So now coming into various methodologies in project management as a whole. So what do you mean by a methodology? So in project management, as I told, projects can be related right from a small thing, as I was telling, like a sleep, and to growing your pet, up to going up to sending a rocket into the space. So the project is like depending on the budget, depending on the time, depending on the nuances or the complexities involved, we adopt various methodologies in project management, right? So there are few things like you need to understand. So why this methodology has come? So it is a discipline. I would say methodology is nothing but a discipline which we need to follow while the project itself, right from the process groups, following all the process groups, from the initiation to the closure, we need to follow a certain set of things. So for example, say today I say one of you all to do a stakeholder management. So you are identifying the stakeholders, but your way of identifying the stakeholders might be different, and my way of identifying the stakeholders might be different. So when a discipline is maintained, then maybe, for example, you're working in an organization and tomorrow I come and take over from you. So there won't be a continuity. But if we have a discipline in that and we maintain a proper documentation and maintain proper artifacts, then in that case, this project management will be smooth and tenured. And therefore, that is the only reason we have these methodologies which have come in place. And these methodologies have proved to be very, very successful when they have evaluated the metrics post implementation of the projects. So it is like project without any methodology, generally doing it. So in simple projects, it's simple. For example, going to a sleep, it's a project, but then it's very simple. You need not have a methodology implemented in this. Right. But again, coming back to that, I'll tell you a small change in that when we come later, when we see Agile and Waterfall. So basically, to align the strategy of the organization itself, to deliver good value, quality value, and manage all the risks that come throughout the project, whether it is predefined or occurring dynamically. So it has to be managed. So managing this risk and increase the visibility of what is happening around everyone. So one operations people might be working, one technical guy might be working, and there might be another sales team working. So how do you bring a visibility amongst them and a coordination? So generally, that's what we call project managers, or the project management is nothing but coordination between everyone to bring in a discipline over achieving the objectives as planned earlier. So now let's just quickly jump into waterfall method. This method everyone would have heard. It is nothing but a step-by-step process in achieving what is our end result or the end product. Coming here, waterfall was initially described in the year 1956. Okay, when it was again in the military during the Cold War, when a software was to be done for a radar imaging system. That is when initially this waterfall, the word waterfall, even prior to that, they were using, right? But the word waterfall came into existence from that period onwards. So, but what the difficulty which they faced during that time also, the plan was something we would have also seen multiple photos that what the client wants, what the manager like what your product manager wants, what the manager explains it to the team, and how the team actually brings out the results. This we would have even seen in multiple exercises like in tvs and videos, wherein a small exercise kind of thing is given, like people stand in a queue and in a line, and the front person draws something behind that person, and when it is transmitted behind, we see what all changes happens. It actually happens in waterfall method. So because in waterfall methods, but again in waterfall method we know the requirements initially. So why this waterfall method became famous was it had a discipline in it. It had a discipline, it had everything what was required for a project to be done to achieve the results at the end. However, it was very much naive to the changes. Whenever dynamic changes came in, whenever the scope creeps came in, the time taken for the delivery of the entire product once again took much time. Despite of even when they have tried this iterative cycles, also it became very difficult. So waterfall method where we generally use is if your initial requirements is well known, or the say for example a building has to be built in a 1 acre of land or one plot of land. You need to build 12 floors and the design is properly done. You know the way the pipelines are going, where the electric circuit is coming, what is the incoming power, what is the how many lights are required, everything is known. Then in that case waterfall model will be best suited, because you know the requirements very well. You can easily design and develop the I mean, the diagrams for that. And then you can develop it, test it, and then deploy it, and then maintain it throughout your life. But talking about today's era, when the changes is so fast, when when the technology is so dynamic, every day a new concept arises, and it's very difficult for those changes to be kept thing. Because so initially a web page would have designed, for example, I take this instance of a website for a air ticket booking website. So initially they would have had viewing the seats and then giving a telephone call and then booking it. But later on, what came? Online payment came into existence. So you can see the seats and book it online. But booking it online, earlier only credit cards. But credit card became, even debit cards were included. But after the debit card, then came internet banking. After internet banking, now came the UPI. So these changes very fast. Even in UPI, there are a lot of changes which is happening every day, at least in terms of security, at least in terms of cyber security, a lot of changes are happening every day. But as a product overall also, if you see, at least one kind of an update keeps coming to your mobile app or something every month. So this kind of a change or a dynamic thing, waterfall was not really suitable. So you can see a graph here wherein I've showed for small projects, like the failure rates, waterfall versus agile. So if you see the failure rates in small projects, the waterfall method is 11%, while as agile is 4. Whereas when you come to medium project, it has risen up to 25%. When you come to large projects, it's completely almost 50%. Half the projects are failing when you adopt waterfall, but whereas only 1/4 of it is failing. So this 1/4 failure cannot be avoided, despite whether it is agile or waterfall. It depends on the people who execute it and in which scenario it is getting executed, right? So if you can compare this to, so it has been proved over a period of time that agile is better, much better in getting adapting itself to the current scenario and the dynamic technological advancements which is happening. So this is all about agile. So in agile, what you do is, it's nothing but the waterfall in a cycle. I would say, I would term it as waterfall getting repeated in a cycle, and even the delivery is done in an iterative method. And I don't want to really confuse you, because if you're really, when you come into Agile, you'll actually learn the things. Most of you would be already in your, if you're working in a software industry, would be following this Agile methodology. There are various frameworks, and the most common framework is Scrum framework, which most of you would be following. So what is Agile all about? Is Agile is about a mindset, actually. So it is a mindset. So you should be ready to accept the changes. So in Agile, what we do is we initially evaluate the process, and then we like based on the current structure of the organization and what is required, and then suggestions for improving and optimizing the processes which is available. Again, this is a process management, and process improvement comes into place there, and then design together with clients. You sit with the clients there. So in Agile, now again, in coming into Scrum framework, you have a product owner, you have the dev team, and a Scrum master dedicated to this. I would say a Scrum master is none but a Agile project manager. He's actually an Agile project manager, Scrum master. So he does that thing. So he talks to product manager owner, and the product owner invariably talks to the clients or the front office people and gets the information, and that's how the product is built. And the application construction and implementation is done in this cycles, as I called it, is called as sprint, I would say. I'm using Scrum framework because I've been using that and I've worked with that. So it comes as sprints, a short span of cycles called as sprints, and then you deliver. So the delivery, like every sprint, you give some kind of an output, but then the delivery happens through the delivery management, DevOps, wherein they either put it in a monthly cycle or a 3 monthly cycle that is coming into the prod environment. That's different thing. So basically, what I mean to say is, all about Agile is not sticking to something. We need to have that mindset of getting adapted and to be ready to change ourselves at any point of time. So now you can see the difference between Agile and C. We are doing actually the same thing: requirements, design, develop, test, deploy, and then we're going to maintain it. But in Waterfall, we do it in one cycle and then finish it off. But in Agile, we understand the requirements, we design it, develop it, test it. In sprint testing or a regression testing, we do it, we review, and then we launch it. But we keep doing this again and again over a period of time, so that even when new requirements come, even when scope creeps are coming, it is easily managed and we can proceed over. But whereas in Waterfall, once it is done, it is completely done. So we cannot do much changes about that. So again, when it comes that there is a new concept of DevOps engineering itself, just because of Agile. So we have something called as Docker containerization. So you would have heard about this, Google's Kubernetes, and there are many things. I'm just giving one or two odd examples which I have worked around, so that you get an idea around this. Okay. So again, coming back to Agile, now what is the principle or the mindset itself? So in Agile, we have these 4 values, okay, and we have got something called as the 12 principles, and we have something called as ethics to the entire Agile. So in Agile, we have this individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So we in Agile, we give importance to individuals and the interactions between the individuals, whether it is engineers or whether it is the product owner or the clients, we give importance to them. And collaboration over contract negotiation. We give importance to collaboration between people rather than just sticking around to the contract negotiation. And we go for working solutions. That is, we go for working softwares rather than going for comprehensive documentation. Documentation will be there, a lot of documentation, but we don't have an end product. So we are in Agile, it's not that. In Agile, we have to have a working solution. Again, coming to this, we have something called as lean startup, wherein something else called as a MVP comes in picture. That is a minimum viable product. So that comes into picture. So based on that, we work around this. So working solutions, so working softwares are required rather than comprehensive documentations, and responding to changes rather than sticking to the plan. So that is the final value. So you should not stick around a plan. You should be responding to the changes, whatever is required. And the ethics, as I mentioned, it is all about the psychological safety, self-organization, and the respect for people. So Agile actually brings in that. And that's why if you see most of today's industry, wherever Agile is being implemented, people are happy. As we see in the Maslow's hierarchy, people are happy. People are moving from the lower bottom to up in the hierarchy. They are happy. They are getting respect. The job they do for, they are getting it. So they are feeling happy. And the principles, as I said, we prioritize in Agile, we prioritize things by its value. We take the thinking in the systems perspective, and we are transparent each, because as I mentioned, the Scrum as an Agile framework, if you see, we have something called as the daily Scrum call, wherein we have a 15 minutes call and the entire team members keep talking about what they have done and what they're going to do, what they have done yesterday and what they're going to do today. So it's an open talk. There's nothing to hide. So it's just transparent about what each one is doing and how each one is contributing towards the project. Okay. And then we have this decentralized decision making, because powers are given even to the lower most junior most people working in the project, and a learning environment, learning from others. And these are actually facilitated by, as I mentioned, the project manager or the scrum master. And we have the feedback loops and the agile ways of working, teamwork and simplicity. So these are multiple principles which we have in agile working principles. So to bring those things is the mindset overall above. Okay, so if you see on the right side of the diagram, we have this process and tools, we have various practices, we have the principles, we have the values. So which encompasses everything is nothing but the mindset. If you have the mindset to come out of it and think that I can do this, I can be an agile guy, I can come learn project management in the agile method, then it is easily achievable. And we have few actions here, and the frameworks, again, frameworks I'll be covering. So few frameworks are like Lean and Kanban. We have the Scrum. Now we have SAFe, that is Scaled Agile Framework. We have Extreme Programming. We have Nexus. We have Scrum on Scale, that is SOS, or Less we have. So these are various frameworks. Again, this is more, I would say, it is not the Lean and the Kanban, except for that most of the others are more oriented towards the software and the IT industry. For other industries, we have general, even in the mindset needs to be agile, but we have this Lean and Kanban, which is being followed by the Toyota industry, and was in fact invented by the Toyota industries, like the just-in-time techniques. All these comes into place there. So again, coming into the actions, demonstrating the agility by enacting yourself, inspecting and being ready for everything, managing people around self as well as your team members, optimizing the flow of work. Okay, and getting synchronized and aligned with the meetings and cadences, and understanding the entire budget as the economic, and therefore prioritizing the value. So that is all about the agile mindset as a whole. So now seeing into some of the frameworks, as I mentioned you, so you see like project framework. So why this framework is required? So the framework, again, as I mentioned you, so we have this project methodology itself. So to implement that project methodology, we put ourselves into frameworks. So the framework again is dependent on the what kind of a like requirement it is required, and what kind of a industry, and all those depends. That's where the framework comes into picture. So again, but framework, what all is required in executing a framework is the technical skills associated with that, the leadership skills, the people skills, the business skills. All these are required to implement the framework and be within that framework, and ensure ethics, integrity, and professionalism is carried forward during your entire tenure while implementing that framework as a project manager or a project management professional, right? So as I mentioned, you see some of the artifacts. So these, again, if you take these courses in depth, when you learn project management as a whole, you will be exposed to most of these terminologies, like the charter, the project charter, the business cases, the project management plan, the work breakdown structure. So artifacts is nothing but some kind of a tool, or some kind of a tool doesn't mean a physical tool. It is even a paper sometimes can be called as a tool. For example, in the planning cycle, you can just see here we have this project management plan. So project management plan is nothing but a small piece of paper, at least for a small project. In a bigger project, we have various, like we can do it using a Microsoft projects, or we can use it using Asana, some kind of a tool there we can use. Those are software tools. So project management plan is nothing but a simple paper, right? But it is actually a tool or an artifact in our case. So we have a budget. So budget is nothing but overall financials of the project, right? But it is actually called as the artifact in various process groups. It is called as like the artifacts. I would say it's a tool come or documentation, I would say. So here again you can see like which kind of a methodology or which kind of a framework is best. So for example, if it's a simple project wherein the technology is known and the requirements are very clear, we go for a simple waterfall model. So nothing much to think about that. And when as the technology is getting unknown, like the latest technology is coming and you don't know what to use, similarly the requirements are also unknown, so things are getting complicated here, right? So therefore you might have to go into agile. When you go into agile, proper agile is actually when the technical is more complicated and the requirements are less. But if the requirements are more complicated, then in that case what you do, you go for either a waterfall or an agile or an hybrid. Again, coming back to an hybrid methodology, nothing but a mixture of waterfall and agile methodology. But I would say as a project management guys, you should understand there is no proper demarcation, or there is no thin line which separates these two. It's a merger, right? So as I mentioned, agile is nothing but a repetitive waterfall in itself, wherein you're ready to accept the changes. So again, as things get more complex, you go into Scrum. When things go very chaotic, you move into Kanban. And nowadays, there are much more than what we are seeing just in this picture. We have SAFe. Nowadays, most of the companies are moving into SAFe, which is scaled agile framework. So you're scaling up your agile. So agile is a standard. Now you're scaling up that agile. Okay. So now coming into the transformation. So how generally we do this transformation? So from waterfall into thing. So we adopt the agile technique in incremental step. So it cannot be done over the night. It has to be done incrementally. The transformation itself is a project. That's what I was talking to you, right? I worked in a transformation project wherein I have taken over two teams which were working in waterfall method and converted them completely into agile, also by hiring people, training them, and finally I handed over them by inducting a scrum master, coaching him, training him, and then I've handed over the team. That was my as a project manager, that was my project to be completed. It almost took 1.5 years for me to do that. It was again in a business called as consumer and community banking within JP Morgan, where I was working. So that was my project. And then there need to be a proper transition plan to move from one stage to another stage, because it has to be monitored, it has to be evaluated, the metrics has to be measured. And you should ensure the product owner, the dev team, and all the stakeholders understand their responsibilities. What are they? So in waterfall, you have generally a manager, a below managers, you have deputy managers, and then you have the teams, and they do that. But here it is not like that. You need to understand what a product owner is supposed to do, what is the dev team, and what are the stakeholders supposed to do, what is Scrum Master supposed to do, and what is the Scrum framework about. And then also you need to understand, even within the dev team, what is the T-shaped skills requirements, how do we do that? So this kind of a transformation is again required there. And you need to understand to collaborate with people. You need to understand what is a sprint, and you try following that. And then you have to measure the sprint. Again, the outcomes of the sprints are measured in various methods. We also have analysis techniques for that. There are burn up charts, burn down charts, and we have velocity charts. So there are multiple things in those. So we have methodologies for that, which is, again, you need to do a Scrum certification if you really want to become into Scrum. And then we have product backlog, sprint backlog. These kind of an understanding needs to be done, and it has to be done step by step. And again, coming back to, as I mentioned, how do you create this agile mentality in itself? You need to understand agile. You need to promote collaboration. You have to prioritize continuous learning, and you have to iterate and reflect on it. You have to promote a safe environment so that people take it and do the studies. And you have to limit the work in progress. Again, it is called as WIP. We limit the WIP, WIP, work in progress. And we need to get more customer centric. Focus on the customer requirements rather than the product as per your understanding. So these kind of a change needs to come into your mindset so that you get agile. So I have a small graph here as to the impact or the global project management, how big the market it has in the present scenario, and by 2028 how it is going to be. So you can see how it is increasing drastically. Why I told you this again? So project management is not only project management. Project management is management of all the others. If you ask me, if you ask in a like a general company or an oil company or a civil company, I would call project managers as general managers. They are the general managers. There might be a finance guy who's a CFO. There might be a admin guy who's a CAO. There might be a tech guy who's a CTO. But there is a general manager who's managing every one of them. And that's nothing but project management in itself. And finally concluding, I see for a project manager, how he can become a project manager, effective project manager. So he needs to have effective communication, a strategic thinking, leadership skills, organizational or management skills, team leader, and even management, human resource management skills, problem solving skills, and stay realistic whenever he's doing some kind of a forecasting, and being flexibility at par, being much flexible to accept whatever changes it comes, and to be, at the end of the day, to be an inspiring figure. Because see, as a project manager, you might not be the boss. Like even for Scrum Master, they are not the boss of the dev team. There is nothing called, especially in today's era, there is no one called as a boss, because we are trying to achieve this flat hierarchy. But if you see, as a project manager, if you're going to inspire people, so your discipline is being actually inspired. You're inculcating your discipline into people. So when you come in time for something to attend a meeting, those guys get inspired by you. It's not out of the scare which they come, but they really get inspired and they walk into you. And you see a small data which shows that like 9.9% of every dollar is wasted due to poor project performance. 32% of the budget of loss is due to project failure. So project failure, how big project failures can happen, how big impact it's having on the overall economy. And you can see, so where is project management included? So now I've spoken about different departments within an organization, for example, HR, finance, sales, everywhere where project management is implemented. So, but which all organization, if you see engineering, and you have banking and finance, which I have worked, medical, healthcare, most of the US is behind this medical and healthcare, and most of their outsourced services are in India, I would say India, China, and in the Philippine countries. The construction projects, again, project management, oil and gas companies, again, project management, IT. So if you overall take, is there anything other than these? If you see, there's nothing else. If you see, I have just selected the top 7 sectors that require project management immensely, which has covered everything almost. And today's era, even education industry, which is becoming more dynamic and more continuous changes happening in the sector itself, it is highly vulnerable, right? And if you see, project management is becoming very, very important in this area also. So we are already almost 10 minutes left with our scheduled time. Now I will open up. I'll stop sharing my screen. All the best for who's ever going to take your project management journey seriously and walking forward. Thank you for your participation. Now I'm going to open the floor for our discussions, right? I'm just going to stop sharing. Just give me a second. Yeah. So any questions from anyone? You can just raise your hand so that I'll try to unmute you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deenadayalan, for the wonderful presentation. But before we move on to the Q&A session, I would like to post the Google form link for those who want to avail this recorded session, as well as those who are interested in the project management course. You can please fill in this Google form. Thank you.
Yes, I could see one hand raised up.
Thank you very much. Grateful for the presentation which has been shared to us. My first question has already been answered. I wanted to ask whether the presentation will be shared. Secondly, will you be able to provide more details about your course? And are you inclined to any project management methodology, so to say? I'm interested in Prince 2 and would like to learn more. So is your project management like specific to any project management methodology adopted? Thank you.
Reno, I think it would be apt for you to take this question rather than I
Yes.
taking this question. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Ms. Malinka. And yes, regarding your question on the project management course, I would suggest that we have got two different levels of project management course. One is at the foundation level, where you are someone who's totally new into this field. Of course, then for you, you'll have an introductory session of it. Or else we do have the course which is at the postgraduate level, okay, which is called the level 7. And this is for people, even if you don't have a project management experience, or it's also fine still, provided you're a graduate or you're a diploma holder with an experience, then yes, not related into the project management also, still you are eligible for this qualification. And what advantage this program gives you is that if you are taking at the post-graduation level, of course, if you want to have an MSc in the project management, then you can just do a consultancy project and get your master's done. So which course you would like to take? Of course, Ms. Willinga, you can fill up the form so that your advisor can reach you and they can guide you rightly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess I'll wait for the details, of course.
Yeah, please fill in the Google form, which is mentioned there.
Okay, thank you.
So, Reno, I think there are no other questions.
Yes, there's a question in the chat box. This is from Mr. Matthias, and the question says this: what's the journey all about in this scope? How long is the course, and what are the papers we awarded? Are the payments to be made? Okay, this is again, the question is for me. What is the journey of, okay, that, like I told you, that depends upon which course you are taking, that is determinant on the scope. Like I told you, if you're taking at the foundation level, then of course we do have something which is relating to the base level, that is understanding what is a project management. But if you're going into the higher level, which is the postgraduate diploma level, then of course, this will have more detailed things into it, like, where you'll be studying about the contracts management and all other things relating to the project management. But of course, the software is like, where the Prince 2 and all that will not be included in this, but you will be having as a subject, as a master subject. Like you will be having it, okay. And yes, regarding the awarding body, it is from the OTHM. This has been awarded, and yes, the course fee and everything. Of course, your if you fill in the form, our advisor can reach out and brief you more detail about it. And I think there are two more questions. That is, so many questions are coming up. Okay, there's one question for you, Mr. Deenadayalan. The question is this: kindly explain your approaches to monitoring the change capacity and addressing overload. How do we assess and reassess resourcing needs? This is the question.
So coming to this question, especially when talking about monitoring the capacity or addressing to the needs of when people are overloaded, or it's either both the ways, right? Either people are being overloaded or the organization is overloaded because we have hired so much. So it can be seen in both the ways. But as a project manager, and not thinking much about the organization, as a project manager, if you see, I am more, since we are in agile world, we are as people first. So I will be most concentrated around if people are overloaded. So we have various metrics for this. That is what I told, like, especially when you're working in a Scrum environment, we talk to people on an everyday basis. That is expected of a project manager. So you understand as to the ground level, as to what is happening at ground. It's not that you're just delivering your products and you just leave your people away. You start interacting, you start collaborating with people. And coming to this particular point of the capacity change, it is the biggest rate That is, there is something called as RAID, that is risks, assumptions, interdependencies, and risk assumptions, issues and dependencies, right? So issues and this is called something as RAID, and we maintain this RAID log. So this resource is the major risk factor, which is always there in almost all the projects, because people come, people leave. Some weeks the job is more, whereas in some weeks the job actually declines. So that actually there are metrics to maintain that. We actually map our stakeholders. So whoever is working the project, who is involved in the project, so we have a proper stakeholder management matrix there. So stakeholder plan is there, and then we also have a RACI matrix there. So RACI is nothing but responsible, accountable, informed, and consulted matrix. So based on these metrics, on the matrix, so what we do is we actually know, like, if someone is leaving, who is the backup plan, what is the backup plan, what is the plan 2, and if someone is not available in that particular day, how as a team, how we going to deal with this. So this is a progressive study, and for this you actually need to do like in project management, when you come to stakeholder management, and when you read about the stakeholder management in itself and resources management, you will be exposed to these terms, wherein there are metrics and there are methodologies and tools for that also. Good evening, Kaunda.
Hello, hi.
Yes,
you
you're
so
audible.
much. Yes, you talked so well on the Agile and Waterfall methodologies. Are you able to relate these to maybe a lean methodology, so that we try to see how it works out? Because from the waterfall to Agile, it's well understood. Are you able now to take it to lean?
So Kaunda, as you asked, see, Waterfall and Agile are project management methodologies. Okay,
Yes,
but
yes.
lean, we use it to reduce the waste. As you know, lean we reduce. So what we do is, we don't operate lean as a separate project management methodology in itself, right? We work lean along with one of these methodologies. See, waterfall methodology and agile methodology are for project management methodologies, whereas lean is again a project management methodology, but lean is generally incorporated with agile, at least in today's world. Earlier it was, in fact, lean was associated with waterfall, when we actually see the lean Six Sigma. So we have the Six Sigma quality control methodology. So with lean and Six Sigma joining together, actually Six Sigma is a waterfall method. If you see, it is a process, like it is a defined process. We go step by step, and then finally we improve the quality of the output. So but lean, when we mix it with this waterfall, that is lean Six Sigma, we have results there. And similar to that, we have lean operated along with agile, and especially in today's scenario in the software industry, lean is implemented everywhere along with agile. For example, Scrum framework along with lean is followed, so that we get quality softwares as our outputs. So this is only followed even in lean startups. So you would have heard about the world. Generally, startups we know, and what startups do we know. But what is something called as lean startup? So lean startup is nothing but most of the startups are software based. That also we know. Most of it are software based, except for few others. So it is software based. So when this software based, they follow this agile methodology. When they implement it with lean to control the waste, to reduce the waste in the entire process, that is where it comes with the lean agile methodology in itself. For example, is the lean startup as a whole in the industry level.
Thank you so much.
Sure, Gaunda.
There's one more question there. I think it's from Koma again. The question is again the same person who has asked the previous question. I believe you have. And could you share more light on reassessing the resourcing needs?
Reassessing the resourcing needs. So, Koma, can you just speak out what exactly is your question and what do you want? Reassessing the resourcing needs. What is that? Who has brought in this requirement again? So you have started a project. You initially had 10 people. Now, why are you reassessing? There needs to be a reason for that. So reassessing the resourcing needs cannot just arise just like that. who has asked? So for example, if my CEO says that he wants someone in the team, I as a project manager will question him, why is it required? The project is running smooth and fine. Why is it required? So I would be asking him the question. So reassessing the project needs, it happens over a scenario based. You need to understand in what kind of a scenario. So you have to explain me the scenario, like why should I reassess it? So if you can speak out, I can tell you.
Okay, so this question was in relation to the one on how we approach monitoring change capacity and addressing overload. So this would be in a case where we have overload on a project, and now we need to reassess the needs in terms of sourcing.
So you mean to say your people are overloaded, or your company is overloaded, your organization is overloaded?
The people are overloaded.
With you mean to say the people are overloaded with a job, right?
Right.
So so what kind of an industry you're in?
I'm in the manufacturing industry.
So you're in a manufacturing industry. So in manufacturing, are you into following any of the project management methodology?
Yes, we are. It's lean.
So that's now again, when you said it's lean, so you need to understand why they are getting overloaded. So which particular phase of people are getting overloaded? Is it that entire organization from the start to the end, well, whoever is working, they are getting overloaded, or only a particular department or a particular set of people are getting overloaded? That might be because of the sudden increase in the requirements, or the demand has increased and therefore your productivity has gone up, but you are having your numbers same. So you need to analyze that also. You need to analyze what is your earlier productivity, so compared to the number of people, and the present productivity with the number of people. So if earlier productivity and the outcome is the same as now, then maybe your people are trying to bring out the issue just like that. Again, you need to investigate back there. But if you really see an surge in the demand and the productivity, but however the numbers are remaining the same, then you need to work out on a business case and take it to your higher management. Tell them, earlier we were doing these many quintals, now we have increased our manufacturing to this many, however the number of people are the same, and therefore thus they are getting overloaded with the job, and therefore you have to take it in that aspect. Was that good enough?
Yes, thanks for the clarity.
Sure.
Okay, I have a question for me, which says that could you please provide a bit of information on the accreditation of Edubex? Okay, so we Edubex have started in 2019, and we have the registered office in India. And we currently run the OTHM, which is an awarding body in UK, where we have the courses of the project management, accounting and finance, strategic management and leadership, logistics and supply chain management, and we have for the and human resource management. And also we have developed our own curriculum for the Scottish Qualification Authority, which is called the SQA, and where we have the program which is called the Level 11 Extended Diploma in International Business Management. So we are accredited towards the Scottish awarding body, which is the SQA, which is directly the Scottish government. And the second one is that we are accredited towards the OTHM program, which is again regulated by Ofqual. I hope that clarifies your doubt. And please, if there's any other questions, please go ahead as we are approaching to the end of the webinar. Regarding Mr. Peter's question, so what kind of help is that you're expecting? Then only I can say that, because you're someone who's already doing the master's program. If at all you want to have a base level knowledge, like I said, that of course you can go for the level 4 program. Other cases, then of course you can go ahead with the level 7 program. The fee, like you can fill up the Google form, and the advisor would be in touch with you, because we have got the Christmas offer running, so of course they will be in touch with you. So please fill the Google form to know more about it. Thank you all for this. There's no further questions. Let's wind up the session. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Deenadayalan, for being our guest and taking this session. And also, I would like to thank all the participants. Yeah. Yeah. You can just wait for till tomorrow for the advisor to call you. Okay, please fill in the Google form, and they will contact you at the earliest. Okay, so for time being, just fill the Google form. Yeah, and thank you all the dear participants for coming into this session. And like I said, those who are interested to be a part of the program, please do fill in the Google form. Also, if you are interested in getting the recording as well, please do fill the Google form. Thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you.